So the average person touches their phone 2,617 times a day.
Which is just a wild number.
Right. It's absurd.
Yeah.
And if you think you're just, staying informed by doing that, the math actually says you're mathematically engineering your own ignorance.
Yeah, you really are.
So welcome to AION Powerhouse, the deep dive. And today, we're not pulling apart a single trade or a specific product like we usually do.
No, today's bigger.
Exactly. We are pulling apart the brand purpose behind this channel. Why we actually exist, why AION is built entirely around this concept of the editorial filter, and why signal over noise is not just some corporate wellness slogan.
Right. It's not yoga for your inbox.
No. We want to argue that it's actually the single most important capital allocation question you're going to face in 2026.
Because, look, that term editorial filter, it gets thrown around as a buzzword a lot, right?
Yeah.
But it is actually brutal mechanism.
Explain that. What do you mean by brutal?
Well, I mean, the editorial filter is the expert judgment of what an operator does and critically does not need to know today. It effectively grants them permission to just ignore the rest. And honestly, that permission is everything.
Permission to ignore almost everything. I mean, I want to frame this for you, the listener, whether you're, the senior operator, the CIO, the founder, the builder, deploying real capital, or maybe you're the mass market viewer who just feels this modern information crisis in your bones, but, hasn't really had a name for it yet.
Right. Both audiences are fighting the exact same battle here.
Exactly. So I want to anchor this in a really specific observation about Steve Jobs. There's this verbatim quote from Tim Cook, you can find it in Walter Isaacson's biography, that I think perfectly sets the stakes.
Oh, the noise quote?
Yeah, the noise quote.
Yeah.
So Cook said, and I'm quoting here, "There's no one better at turning off the noise that is going on around him. That allows him to focus on a few things and say no to many things."
I mean, it is arguably the most quoted operator practice in modern business history. And it is, word for word, the brand purpose of AION. But, we have to move this past the motivational poster phase.
Right. It can't just be a nice quote on a wall.
Exactly. We have to look at why this is a hard operational reality in 2026. And Nassim Taleb actually provides the mathematical artifact for this in his book, Anti-Fragile.
Okay, lay the math on it.
So Taleb relies on this concept called the signal-to-noise ratio. And to put it simply, that's just the ratio of information that should actually change your decision versus information that, well, shouldn't.
The static versus the needle movers.
Right. And Taleb mapped this against time, which is where it becomes genuinely terrifying. So if you look at data on a yearly basis, the split is roughly 50-50.
Okay, so half is real signal, half is noise.
Exactly. But if you shrink your window and look at it daily, it becomes 95% noise to 5% signal.
Wow.
And if you shrink it again to hourly, it is 99.5% noise to 1/2% signal.
That's just staggering.
It is. The shorter the window you sample, the catastrophically worse your ratio gets.
Okay, so I want to tie Taleb's math back to that terrifying human statistic I opened with.
Yeah.
Because Johann Hari cites this research from Trade Scout in his book Stolen Focus, showing that average of 2,617 phone touches per day.
Which is basically minute-by-minute sampling.
Exactly. We need to call that what it is. It's oversampling. Every single touch is a sample of your environment. So if you're checking a feed hourly or minute by minute, you are mathematically oversampling that 99.5% noise.
Yeah, you are capturing the volatility, not the trend.
Right, which means you are not underinformed. You are mathematically oversampled. I mean, if you're listening to this and you feel less informed right now than you did 10 years ago, you are entirely justified in feeling that way.
Because you are literally drowning in the 99.5%.
Yeah. That is the fundamental crisis of the modern operator, basically summed up in a single fact. The more frequently you check, the dumber the average input gets.
And this completely breaks conventional wisdom, right? When operators feel overwhelmed, the intuitive fix is usually to, go buy a better information stack.
Oh, totally. I need a better dashboard.
Yeah, exactly. I need a sharper newsletter, a more customized feed, cleaner inputs. But Johann Hari goes one level deeper and just dismantles that entirely.
Yeah, what's his argument there?
His line is, and I quote, "We are not medieval peasants begging at the table of King Musk and King Zuckerberg for a few little crumbs of attention from their tables."
Damn. That's a good line.
It's a great line. And it implies the environment isn't just accidentally messy. It is designed to be.
Right. It's industrially harvested.
Yes. This stream of information is engineered to fragment your focus, Because fragmented focus is exactly what gets sold to advertisers. And here's the critical part. Even perfectly filtered information, if it comes at you at a high enough volume, will erode your deep attention.
Because it's still too much context switching.
Exactly. Filtering for quality does not solve the problem if the total volume remains massive. You simply cannot out-curate a fire hose. Volume itself is the poison.
I see operators fall into this trap constantly. Like they curate 50 incredibly high signal substacks and podcasts, and then they wonder why their brain feels like mush and they still can't think clearly.
Right, because they're still drinking 50 gallons a day.
Yeah. Let me bring in the operator canon here, because the people who actually compound capital over decades, they've already converged on the answer. And the answer is always less. It is never better filtered more.
Walk us through it.
So let's go back to Steve Jobs. In 1997, he returned to an Apple that was literally bleeding out. He looked at their product line, which had like 350 SKUs, and he cut it to a 4-quadrant grid.
Which is, what, a 98% cut?
A 98% cut to a company's revenue streams. The sheer terror of executing that as an operator is hard to even overstate.
Oh, it's unthinkable for most CEOs.
Right, but it saved the company. And he institutionalized it. Every year at his top 100 retreat, he would force his executive team to list their top 10 priorities, and then he would literally cross out the bottom 7.
Oh.
Yeah. And then you have Greg McKeown, who turned this into an entire philosophy in his book, Essentialism, writing that almost everything is noise and a very few things are exceptionally valuable.
Yeah, and Cal Newport proving in Deep Work that deep, uninterrupted focus is essentially the new IQ.
Exactly. And look at Marc Andreessen. I mean, arguably the most influential venture capitalist alive right now. He publicly named his 2026 information diet. You know what it is.
What is it?
1/4 X, 1/4 practitioner podcasts, 1/4 talking to AI, and 1/4 old books.
He has explicitly abandoned mainstream news entirely.
Yes. A guy whose literal job is predicting the future is ignoring the daily news and all the newsletters. That tells you everything.
It forces a massive reframe for you, the listener. Because the conventional read of the market is that the winning operator is the best informed one. You know, the person with the most sources, the most data streams, their earliest access.
The guy with 6 monitors on his desk.
Right. But the reframe is that the winning operator is actually the best defended one. They are the one with the fewest, highest signal inputs and the absolute ruthless discipline to ignore the rest.
Because the information abundance is permanent. It only goes up.
Exactly. Access is no longer the scarce resource. Attention is. And the judgment to spend it on the 5%. AION is not in the business of giving you more. It is in the business of giving you permission to ignore almost everything.
Okay, so I want to give the listeners something to actually hold in their head, because Taleb's math is true, but it's kind of abstract. It doesn't always click.
Yeah, give us a mental model.
So here's my first attempt. Think of AION as a water filter for your information. Like you pour all the garbage from X in the news cycle through it, and we take out the dirt, and you just get the clean water at the bottom.
I'm going to push on that, actually.
Oh, really? Why?
Because I think it's wrong in a very important way. A water filter assumes you are still drinking the exact same massive volume of water, you just take out the dirt.
Right.
But that is exactly the fix Johann Hari says does not work. We just established that the volume itself is the poison. A cleaner fire hose is still a fire hose.
Yeah, okay.
Right. A filter that lets you consume the same volume, just cleaner, hasn't actually solved Taleb's math. It's just made you feel safe and productive while you continue to oversample.
That is a really fair point. If I'm drinking 50 gallons of perfectly clean water a day, I'm still going to drown.
Exactly.
Okay, so it is not a filter. Let me try this. It is a ration.
A ration. I like that.
It's a single glass poured for you once a day. And the entire architecture of the product is that you drink that one single glass and then you physically walk away from the tap.
Yes. Yes. And now I can make it really precise because this is a distinction every capital allocator already lives and breathes. Think about how you hold a position in the market. There are basically 2 ways. One way is sitting in front of the Bloomberg terminal streaming every single tick.
Right.
That is hourly sampling. That is the 99.5% noise. That is the operator refreshing the feed at midnight in a cold sweat.
Pure volatility, zero trend. It's exhausting.
The other way to hold a position is the quarterly earnings call. It is incredibly low frequency, but is high signal. The quarterly call actually changes the underlying decision.
Oh, I see where you go.
Yeah. AION is the editorial equivalent of choosing the quarter over the tick. It is one daily glass poured for you expert curated, that contains only the moves worth acting on.
So you could put the fire hose down.
Exactly,
Yeah.
without that lingering fear that you're missing the one thing that actually mattered.
I love that. Choosing the quarter over the tick. So here is the test you can run on yourself tonight if you're listening. Ask yourself honestly, is your information practice drink from a cleaner fire hose? Like you have a better feed and sharper newsletters, but you are still reading all day, still refreshing.
Because if so, you have solved the wrong problem.
Right. You are still trapped inside Taleb's 99.5% noise. Or is your practice drink one glass and walk away, one curated pass, and then the laptop closes? That gap between the cleaner fire hose and the single glass is the entire reason AION exists.
It is. But I want to pivot here because I want to make the strongest possible case against the thing we just sold.
Oh, bring in the bear case. Let's do it.
Yeah, because if this brand thesis does not survive a brutal steelman, it frankly does not deserve to be the brand. We are arguing that this philosophy makes a defensible business, and there are 6 pillars to the bear case that say otherwise.
6. All right, bring them on. Let's see if the model holds up.
Pillar 1. AI agentic curation commoditizes the human editor.
Okay.
Within the next 18 months, every operator is going to have a personal large language model agent that synthesizes a custom feed straight from primary sources.
Like parsing the S1s automatically.
Exactly. It will parse the on-chain data. It will summarize the earnings transcripts with literally 0 humans in the loop. If the machine curates to your exact context for free, the premium you pay for a human editor's judgment collapses. The thing AION sells might be the first thing the agents eat.
I mean, I'd push back and say AI still hallucinates and really lacks true taste, but I concede the trajectory. Within 18 months, context windows and retrieval systems are going to make that a massive existential threat. What's pillar 2?
Pillar 2, a filter is a feature, not a moat.
Interesting.
Editorial curation already exists at a massive scale. Think of Stratechery, The Information, Lenny's newsletter, Bloomberg's own terminal. We curate well is a claim every single one of them makes. What specifically stops the next operator from getting their signal somewhere that already has the distribution and their trust?
Yeah, they're already established habits. It's really hard to break those.
Exactly, which leads to pillar 3. Abundance rewards aggregators, not curators.
Platform dynamics.
Right. The platform dynamics of the last decade prove that when information explodes, attention concentrates on the biggest networks, X, Substack, YouTube itself. Distribution beats taste in platform dynamics. A boutique filter like AION is structurally fighting a massive network effect. Reach, not judgment, is what compounds.
And reach requires broad appeal, which I'm guessing introduces the next problem.
You guessed it. Pillar 4. Signal is irreducibly personal.
Right.
What is a crucial signal to a crypto allocator, say a funding rate dislocation, is absolute noise to a sauce founder and vice versa.
Completely irrelevant to them.
So this requires us to define the lowest common denominator. If a single daily briefing tries to serve allocators and builders and founders, it has to dilute its content to appeal to everyone. And the moment it hits the lowest common denominator, it stops being a sharp signal for anyone.
It just becomes a generic news roundup. Honestly, I've unsubscribed from dozens of newsletters for exactly that reason.
We all have. Okay, pillar 5. The anti-noise genre is itself saturated noise.
Oh, the irony.
Right. Think about the books we've already mentioned today. Stolen Focus, Deep Work, Essentialism. Add digital minimalism and Indistractable to that list. Turn Off the Noise is now one of the most crowded shelves in nonfiction. There is a very real risk that AION is just selling noise about noise, just one more voice in the attention economy yelling at you to leave the attention economy.
Yeah, selling the disease is the cure. That's a real risk. And the final pillar has to be psychological reality, right? The addiction side.
Yes.
Pillar 6.
Yeah.
A briefing cannot beat the dopamine loop at diagnoses. Just knowing that you oversample does not stop you from oversampling.
Sadly, no.
The slot machine in your pocket is engineered by the smartest behavioral psychologists in the world to make you win. Behavior change requires friction, which an information product has absolutely no way to impose. We can hand you the single glass of water and you will read it and you will agree with it, and then you will still pick the fire hose right back up at midnight. The diagnosis is correct, but the cure does not bind. Man. I mean, I have to acknowledge the weight of that. Every single one of those 6 pillars is a real threat, and we shouldn't pretend otherwise.
We can't.
The bear case isn't that signal over noise is wrong as a philosophy. It obviously isn't. The bear case is much sharper. It's that editorial filter might not be a defensible business in a world where AI agents curate for free, Massive aggregators own the distribution, and the customer is chemically hooked on the very thing you're asking them to put down.
That is the case to beat.
Right. So let us look at the concrete moves an operator can make starting this Monday morning to actually beat it.
Yeah, how do they execute this in reality? Let's give them the playbook.
Move 1. You need to pre-commit to an information diet that you can name in one sentence. It doesn't matter if it's Marc Andreessen's 4-way split or, Tim Ferriss's famous rule of reading 0 newspapers.
The specifics don't matter as much.
Exactly. The specific diet isn't the magic. Having one you can say out loud is the whole move. Because if you cannot name your diet, you do not actually have one. The algorithmic feed has you.
A constraint you can articulate is literally your only defense against an infinite feed.
Yep. Okay, move 2. Run the Steve Jobs 2x2 matrix on your inbound sources. Literally sit down and write out every newsletter, X-list, podcast, group chat, and Slack channel you consume. Force rank every single one on 2-axis signal density and decision relevance to what you actually do for a living.
That is going to be painful for people.
Very painful. Because then you draw a hard line and you cut everything below it. Most operators who do this honestly realize they need to cut 70% of their feed.
Wow. 70%.
And the pushback is always FOMO, right?
Yeah.
Fear of missing out. But remember, Apple cut 70% of his product line in 1997 and came back from the dead. You can survive cutting 70% of your feed.
The discomfort of cutting is temporary, but the clarity that follows is permanent.
Well said. All right, move 3. Invert Greg McKeown's framing. The default question we ask when we feel behind is, what should I read more of?
Right. Who else should I follow?
Yeah. You have to replace that entirely with, what should I read less of? That single inversion is the only filter that keeps working as global information volume keeps climbing. The first question has no upper bound. It leads straight back to the fire hose. The second question forces a constraint.
Those are highly tactical moves. But, there is a second-order read embedded in all of this that disciplines the entire product we are building.
What's the deeper layer?
The thing underneath this entire crisis isn't just information overload, it is meaning collapse. Johann Hari's fundamental claim is that human attention evolved to attach to meaning. But the modern information stream is intentionally meaningless because outrage and fragmentation scale engagement vastly better than nuance does.
It's just empty calories for the brain.
It is. And that second-order read is what sets the AION bar. Our bar is not simply, did we filter out the noise? The bar is, does every single line carry a so what? A bullet point without a consequence for your capital or your business is just noise in nicer packaging. The meaning is the signal. And that provides an explicit validation and invalidation for this entire thesis.
Okay, let's name them explicitly.
The editorial filter thesis breaks the day a personal AI agent reaches taste parity with a trusted human editor before the brand has earned the user's trust. That's the invalidation.
Got it. And the validation.
It is validated every single time an operator says the exact sentence we are building for. I read AION and I skipped everything else and I missed nothing that mattered.
That is the holy grail. Earning the right to hear that sentence is the entire game.
So I will close with a question for you, and it is a capital allocation question. It's not a wellness one. In 2026, your scarcest asset is not your money, and it is not your access to information. Your scarcest asset is the attention you have to spend on the 5% of information that actually moves your decisions. Where are you spending it?
That's the question.
Johann Hari's answer is really the one worth ending on. He says, "We are not medieval peasants begging at the table of King Musk and King Zuckerberg for a few little crumbs of attention from their tables. We are the free citizens of democracies, and we own our own minds, and we can take them back if we want to."
That is what AION Powerhouse is built for. One daily 5 to 10 minute briefing, expert curated, containing only the signals worth acting on, so you can finally put the fire hose down. That is the whole product. Come back tomorrow for the next deep dive.
That's your ION Investor Briefing. Stay informed every weekday. Subscribe now and download the ION app at aionpowerhouse.com.